Well, congratulations, everybody. You made it. Week 2 of your group. Now, 2 things before we jump into the discussion tonight I want to make sure you're aware of. Number 1 is if you've missed any of the messages in the series or you want to go back and watch again, the best place to do that is to jump over to our YouTube channel, Christ Church Camden. You can find it there, and you can see all the services for many years if you want to do that. Secondly, if you're not using the Christ Church app, you may want to go ahead and download that. Just search for Church Center, and when you find that, just search for Christ Church Camden. You can do a lot of things in the app, but as it relates to your group, you can see the schedule of events, send messages to each other, and find resources like the weekly discussion guides that you're using tonight. Now, as we head into week 2 of Battle Ready, I just want to remind you that there are 2 extremes. One is to underemphasize, to maybe ignore and downplay the fact that we have a spiritual enemy. The other side of that is to overemphasize it and give him even more power than he already has. Hopefully we're going to find that balance between understanding what's happening, how we're involved, and what we can do about it. Let me just remind you the groundwork we laid last week that is just really important as we go forward. Real quickly, we said we're in a spiritual battle. And this battle began long before you and I were actually here. The great thing is that you and I know this. The outcome has already been decided. Now, Satan, because he's a sore loser, he's on a mission to take you down and to take you out. Hopefully, this last week, you've become much more aware of that. Maybe you've been looking, you've been more sensitive to the fact that you're in a spiritual battle. Maybe even as you committed to being a part of this group or listening to all the messages and learning the truth, you have even faced some opposition this past week. I mean, that's not fun and that's not enjoyable, but I just want you to know that it's not really out of the ordinary. It's actually quite normal. And because you have a desire to engage in this battle, to learn, to be armed with this armor of God, to know how to stand to fight, you may actually become a target of the enemy. Now, as a group, I'd encourage you to read the entire passage together again, Ephesians chapter 6 from verse 10 through 20. Real quickly, it's part of a letter written by a follower of Jesus named Paul. He spent several years with a group of Christians in the city of Ephesus. He helped establish a small church there. Now, people in the church and the city believed in and understood that we are living in a world made up of 2 halves, right? There's this physical and what we can see, but there's also this spiritual and what we can't always see. And the physical is impacted by the spiritual. So he's on guard in prison when he writes, drawing his imagery from a Roman soldier. And it's as if he's looking at this guy and putting pen to paper and saying, in the same way that this guy is in full armor head to toe, he's prepared for battle, weapons at his disposal to fight an enemy. You should be prepared to fight in a spiritual battle. Now, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11 says this, put on the full armor of God, and here's what we want to talk about tonight, so that you can stand against the schemes of the devil. He has schemes. That's a little Greek word that gives us our word for methods. He's crafty, he's relentless, he has intel on us, and he uses it against us. Now, I'm going to tell you all this, and I'm not sure this will actually make it into any of the messages going forward. I'm going to consider it a bonus for you just for joining this message-based group. One season when I was playing basketball in college, we had an incident with a conference rival. Now, it should have been an evenly matched contest, and yet during the first game of the season, we got blasted, absolutely annihilated, wasn't even close. It seemed like everything we tried, they were prepared for. Seemed like every play we ran, they knew what we were going to do. That's because they did. You see, one of the players on that team, which was located some 8 hours away in another state, was actually from our town where our college was located. And his dad had been coming to our practices. Sitting way up high in the dark, he was watching everything that we were doing. He was even running a video camera. Now, when we finally got that all straightened out, we were actually able to set up new offense so that when we played again, we knew more than they did, and we caught them off guard. I mean, you never want the opponent to know your playbook better than you do. In the same way that Satan and his team have intel on you, you have intel on him. Now, I think he has a lot of influence in the world. I think there's a lot of ways in which he tries to do his work. He has a bag of tricks, but there is one that he uses more often, I guess I would say, than any other, and it's mind games. So as you read and discuss Satan's first scheme, hopefully you'll be able to see how he runs the same plays over and over again. And when you have an understanding of how he works, you'll better be able to see it coming when it's designed for you.